Bulls show up and give one hell of a defensive performance. Hold Brook Lopez to a not the greatest game. Still scored 21 like he did in game one, but had to work a lot harder for it. Darren Williams, 1 of 9, only 2 points. Still had 10 assists, but they Kirk Heinrich and Joakim Noah, no question about it, made a major impact and difference in the game. Offensively, Chicago actually was able to put the ball in the basket. What a concept on that one. It was a hell of a game. Shout out to Mama Dukes, who was my teammate for the evening. We were rooting hard for the Bulls. Not as many Bulls fans there as I thought there was gonna be. I mean, there was enough that it wasn't like awkward to be a Bulls fan. I'll say that much. But not as much as I thought there was gonna be. Favorite part of the experience, no question about it. Watching all the Brooklyn Net fans leave early, pissed off and aggravated. Oh, we're still going to win this series. It's just one game. I'm like sitting there thinking in my head, like, if they went up 2-0, they'd be like, we're up 2-0. We're going for the sweep. It's just that spectrum of sports where you just teeter-totter based on what happens to your team.
Well, I mean, those fans were right, though.
Well, that's in your eyes. I mean, I don't think they're going to win the series. I think Chicago wins the series. My opinion,
I still think Chicago's not going to score enough. And on the nights that the Nets can put up points, last night they didn't have a very good offensive night. I know the Bulls play good defense, but they just don't have that scorer on the floor they need. That's going to be their downfall. Their downfall, believe it or not, is Derrick Rose.
Yes.
Otherwise, they would have a guaranteed spot with the Heat next round.
I agree. Their biggest issue when it comes down to being a team is they lack the ability to consistently score points on offensive possessions. But I could definitely see them coming back to Brooklyn either 2-2 or 3-1 Chicago. I can. I think Chicago is a better team than Brooklyn.
3-1.
I
think they split it. And like I said, I think this series goes 7. I called the Nets in 7.
And like I said, I think Chicago has a hell of a chance to win this series. I do. I like Chicago in this series. I think they match up very well against Brooklyn. You can obviously say that the other way and say Brooklyn matches up very well against them. One way or another.
The difference in the two teams, though, is going to be Deron Williams. And if the Bulls had Rose, that would make the difference, but they don't, and Deron Williams is the key factor in this series. And it really doesn't matter who gets by this series because the Bulls without Rose or this Nets team are both going to get smoked by Miami anyway, so.
Well, the one thing I can't argue with you on is the fact that I think the winner of this series is just buying themselves a ticket to, like you said, the right to go lose to Miami because I don't think anybody's beating Miami until you get to the Eastern Conference Finals and perhaps New York or Indiana has a chance to do it. But even then, I still think Miami's got that one-way trip to the NBA Finals. But when it comes down to last night, it was an awesome time. Chicago was actually up 12 with like 9-10 minutes to go. And Joe Johnson steps up, hits 2 threes. They make a couple free throws. And with 4 minutes left, it was a 4-point game. And all I could sit there and think to myself was, do not tell me I came all the way up here, watched them lead the entire game, and I'm going to watch them blow it in the fourth quarter. Kirk Heinrich stepped up big. Noah stepped up huge. Dang played a good game. Boozer played all right. One of my favorite players, Taj Gibson, had a bad game. All he did was pretty much come in and commit fouls. But when it comes down to the game, it was hard fought. It was physical. Kirk Heinrich made Darren Williams' life a living hell for the most part. And on top of that, like I said, Noah, drove Brook Lopez nuts. He had a huge block on Lopez at one point of the game, late in the fourth quarter. I'll never forget. One of my favorite other parts of the day was, when he had the block and Noah had his Noah moment where he just screams and he kicks and he waves his arms and he gets all just physically amped up. And those moments are what makes Noah my mom's favorite player. So when he did that, my mom stand up, said, "Yeah, Noah." I'm like, wow. I'm like, all right, Mama Dukes, like, get into the game. Like, it was, all in all, I think it was if you were home watching the game, I'll say one thing: the first quarter was probably one of the biggest headaches to watch in your entire life. The refs wouldn't stop with the freaking whistles. Neither team could really score a basket. It just wasn't pretty. It was not enjoyable to really watch. I mean, being there live, you have the atmosphere and everything going on. So, makes it more bearable. But when it comes down to just if you were a fan at home, man, I felt for you. Because it was just an ugly, ugly, ugly start. It really was.
It seemed like every time the Nets made a run, the Bulls would come back and answer, and just Nets really couldn't complete the comeback. They kept getting stopped.
Yeah,
the offense just wasn't the same last night as it was the first night either.
No, and I don't think anybody should have expected it to be. I mean, that's your bottom line in playoff matchups. Is it's all a chess match. You get dominated in game one. You go back. You're like, all right, well, this went wrong, and this went wrong. You go, you try to fix them, and then if you fixed all your problems and you go and win game two, then the coach on the other team goes back, makes his adjustments, and tries to get game three, and it goes back and forth.
Here's the difference in the game. In this game, Deron Williams shot 1 of 9, 0 for 5 from 3, and only had 8 points. That's your difference in the ball game.
Oh, that and Brook Lopez got 21 points in a much harder fashion. Instead
7 of 14, 7 of 8 from the free throw line. That and Brooklyn didn't really, but that and Brooklyn didn't crash the boards at all. They didn't have. Reggie Evans is the only one that grabbed some boards. It looks like, and he only grabbed 8.
That's Joakim Noah impact, baby. Joakim Noah, Dang. Both of them were going at it. I mean, Dang stepped up big.
Dang, Noah, and Boozer all had over 10 boards, and Boozer actually had 12.
Yeah, I mean, they stepped up big. Boozer had a decent game offensively. He didn't do that great, but it's not like he shot a low field goal percentage. He just didn't shoot that much. Now, when it comes down, like I said, when it comes down to this matchup, though, I mean, I know Erich still has Brooklyn in 7. I got Chicago in 6 or 7. When I originally made the statement, it was 6. I still am willing to stand by that statement. But
I'm saying the Nets yesterday had 3 players in double figures, and one of those had 10. You know what I mean? They just did not have the offensive production they need. Now, this team can be an offensive team, though. Joe Johnson, Deron Williams, Brook Lopez. They got guys that could score, and I don't expect the Bulls to necessarily do this to them every game.
See, I expect the Bulls' defense to be there. I expect Darren Williams to have a better game next game. This will probably be his worst game of the series, no matter how this series goes, one way or another. I don't think Darren Williams shoots 1 of 9 again. But I think Chicago's good enough to take him. I agree with you offensively, though. That's the key. If they split in Chicago, then it's going to be even more interesting because you're talking that's Chicago's best chance to grab a hold of the series is with the next 2 games in Chicago. I believe they play Thursday and Saturday night.